How to print and bind file training presentation. Training outcomes. Know how to print the file in different formats. How to cover the file, which is optional. How to bind the file and in what order. And a file walkthrough. Why this new file format? To ease the use of the file on site, there will be no paging back and forth to complete the forms. What you will need to complete is all in the front of the file, and everything you need to reference will be to the back side of the file. Sections are also sorted according to the frequency you need to complete the documents. For example, all documents that needs to be completed on a daily basis is under section 2. This will also be to have one consistent file. You will always use this one file, regardless of the project you are working on. You will only report that you are moving from one project to another within section 5 using this file. Doing all of this, it would save a lot of time for preparing your files and the way you complete your files on site. What you will need. You will need a printer or a printing service, printing paper, hole puncher, a file, hardcover and a ring binder preferably. Please ensure that your puncher matches the rings required for the file. You will need section dividers numbered 1 to 12, and then optional, you could also need colored printing paper, scissors, Prit and Decifix. Choose your file. As per the printing instruction, you have already chosen which file would suit your scope of work. On the cover page of the file, you will note a table which states the types of work covered in this file. Remember, the file work does not mean that the team is approved to do the work. A team validation is still required. Now simply choose how you want to print your file. You can choose to print it once off the entire file by selecting the PDF format, or you can print it section by section by opening the Dropbox folder and printing it from there. Let's quickly look at the different ways to print your file. Printing the full file at once, we will be discussing it from both views, either from Dropbox or from the synchronized Dropbox folder on your PC. Starting with the Dropbox folder first, please note for the Dropbox folder to work properly, you need to have the Dropbox folder link shared with your Dropbox, or you need to log into the company Dropbox folder. Synchronized Dropbox, which would be on your PC. Note, for this to work properly, you have to have Dropbox installed on your device, whether it's your PC or your mobile, and you have to have the synchronized folder on the PC or device, whichever you use. Printing directly from Dropbox. Click on the PDF file, which would be on the bottom of the Dropbox folder, to open the document. On the right hand side at the top next to open, click on the drop down. Select to open in Adobe Acrobat. Continue to print document as per normal. Further instructions on this will be given later on. Do not use the right click and print option, because it would print like this, and this is not correct. It would not work for your file. Printing from PC or device folder synced Dropbox. Double click on the PDF file, which you will find at the bottom of the folder. This will open the document in PDF format within Adobe Acrobat. Click on the printing icon. Click on the drop-down arrow to view available printers. Select the printer you will use to print the file. Click on Print at the bottom of the wizard. Then just wait until the file has printed completely. Printing the team safety file section by section, we will be looking at both views from the Dropbox itself on the internet and from the Dropbox synchronized view on your device or PC. Printing directly from Dropbox. You will note that the file is in order and each folder has documents which needs to be printed. This will go from section 0 down to section 12. As you open each of these sections, you will note that there is firstly at the bottom a section divider which has a cover and an index for that specific section. This must be printed and inserted in the front of each section. Then you will also note that there are documentation which is in a specific order going from 1 to how many ever documents there are. Print them in that exact order and insert them in that order within your file. If you are in doubt on the order, please refer to the index for the section. In the Dropbox, click on the folder you'd like to open. Click on the document which you want to open. Once a document is open, go to the drop-down next to the Open option. Select to open the document on your desktop. Once opened in the format on your desktop, you can continue to print as normal. Printing from your synced Dropbox on your PC or device. If your Dropbox is synced, the file will be visible on your Dropbox folder on your PC or device. The best option would be to copy the entire folder onto your own PC or device. To copy the folder, select sections 0 to 12. If you want, you can also add the folder which states optional printing and the full PDF file. Right-click and then select copy in the menu. Then open the file you've created on your PC or device. Then simply select paste and wait for the documents to copy completely. Open each section individually, starting at section 1 and working your way through up until section 12. Open each document within the folder, preferably in the order it is within the file. Then, if you want to, you can pre-enter the required information by simply adding in the information in the blank spaces available. Then go to File, click on the Print option, and then click on the print icon. Once the documents within a section is completely printed, you can go on to the next section by clicking on this drop-down and selecting the next section. Restarting the process again by first opening the section divider and then each individual document in the order that they are in the folder. Section dividers can be printed as is. Use the index to insert the documents in the correct order. Each individual document can then also be pre-completed and then printed individually. Never save a document that is on the shared Dropbox. Either copy the folder to your PC or your device, or use the Save As option if you have edited a document. It's a shared folder, thus everyone will use the same documentation. If you edit the information, it would most probably either confuse another person or create them to do additional things. So no one is allowed to edit the shared folder. If you forgot about this, just exit the documentation and click the Don't Save option. Optional printing is additional documents for your file. It is not mandatory. Thus, it is your choice if you want to print these. Because it's optional, I will just show from the synced Dropbox view. Double-click on the optional printing folder. Double-click on the file cover page to print an additional cover and arch file tag. Document will open. Type in the information, or you can write in the information by hand. Scroll to the second page. Edit the information for your Arch file tag. Print the document. Double-click to open the emergency contact document. Scroll down to the bottom. Type in the information or write in by hand. Print the document. Before going on to the next set of documents to print, it is advised, but not mandatory, to change your regular printing paper in your printer with a colored paper. Then print the subsection dividers on the colored pages. In the subsection dividers folder, you will find the PDF format of the subsection dividers. Select all and right-click to open the menu. Select Print to print the subsection dividers. Now that you have printed your file, it is time to bind it. So let's go through how to bind your file. Firstly, you will need to prepare your file, then prepare the documents, and then insert the documents in the file. Note, if it is stated optional, you do not need to do this. It's here to make the file easier or better for you, but it is not a requirement. Prepare your file. Choose an appropriate file. A bright color is preferred. Get the file dividers numbered 1 to 12 and insert them within the file. Optional. Take the emergency contact details form printed and cut out the emergency contact details using the black border. Complete the manager and office contact details at the bottom of the table. And then finally, glue this piece of paper into the front of your safety file. This way it would be easy for you to quickly check the numbers you need to dial in an emergency situation. Optional. The secondary file cover page. Edit or complete the team information on the form. Then glue it on the front, on the outside of your file to make a nice cover page for whenever you need to take out the file. Optional. File arch marker. Edit the arch marker on your PC or device. Print it with the cover page. Cut out the file arch marker and glue it to the arch of the file. Optional. Cover your entire file with Decifix. This will protect it and make the file last longer. File prepared and protected. Prepare your documents. Take the file that you have printed and complete the information on the cover page, after which punch holes in the paper as per the file you have selected. Optional. Take the subdividers that you have printed on a different color paper and punch holes in them according to the file selected. Insert the documents. Separate the printed file into sections. One being the cover and the index, and then continue section 1 to 12. After which, insert the cover and the index in the front of the file before the dividers, and then insert each section at the corresponding divider number. Thus, section 1 under 1 divider, section 2 under divider numbered 2. Optional. Take the colored pages and find the subsections under which they are. Replace the original with the colored page. Having the colored pages makes it easier to find the subsections and going from one document to another. And now your file is complete. What is in the file? Let's go through each section together and discuss what to do with each of these sections. Each section has a brief instruction on the section cover of what to do with the section. And each section has an index which provides the order of the documents and a description of the documents. It also provides a document REV, which can be found on the right top corner of each document. It indicates what needs to be done with the documents, and it indicates when to report on the documents. It also provides a tick option in regard to what is applicable to your scope of work. What does the terms mean? Report. Report means that you have to complete a document and report it to the safety officer on a continuous basis. Complete means that you need to complete the document. This would usually be a once-off completion, but could repeat depending on this document. And a reference. Reference towards a document. These are documents that only need to be viewed. In some cases, they might need to be completed once, but mostly it would be already completed documents that you just need to reference from another document. Or on request, such as your certificates. The file can easily be divided up into two groups. Section 1 to 5 is basically your reporting documentation, which means that you will need to complete the documents in sections 1 to 5 on site or when applicable, and then reporting them to the safety officer. Let's look at a quick video to show you how to report these documents via the WhatsApp group. Reporting documentation via the WhatsApp group is very simple and easy. Your first step would be to take a photo of your documentation, and thus you would need to go on your phone to the camera. Once opened, you can see here in my screen I've got the file. If you open the file, you then select the section under which you have completed the documents. You will see here that the colored pages works very nicely to get to your documentation quickly and effortlessly. Let's take the first vehicle register as an example. Space it very nicely so you can have the entire page within your camera frame. The following information is important. The reference number at the top of your page, the top information completed, the content that you have inspected or completed should be clearly visible for each and every section that needs to be completed, as well as the dates, signatures and comments at the bottom. Everything needs to be within the frame. Once you have it very placed nicely and everything fitted, click on your capture. Now that the photo is captured, you can see everything is placed nicely inside. You can zoom in and see the information clearly. Now all that's left to do is to share it. Thus, share the file via WhatsApp. Once open, select the group that you want to share it on. Remember, the groups that needs to be shared on will have a red icon. All groups with red icons are the project groups, and the name of the group will tell you which project it is on and what stream you are under. Select the appropriate one. For this, I created a dummy WhatsApp group, so you should just select the group. You will note a green arrow on it and then just select the green arrow at the bottom. The photo will open on a message which you can add a caption to. This is not needed. If you want to, you can add one. I'm just going to add, for an example, say vehicle. This is really not necessary for you to do. And then click on the send icon. And there you go. You have reported your form on the WhatsApp group. Somebody has viewed your documentation, you can simply just hold on the message and then click on the icon with an eye in a circle at the right top of your page, and here you will see whom has it been delivered to and whom has seen it. For now, I'm going to get out my personal phone and check and read the message, and you will see it change on the screen. There you can see that I have viewed it on my personal phone, and this is the way that each and every message will be tracked on the WhatsApp groups, seeing whom has seen it and whom has not, and how the communication will be tracked when I send you documentations on WhatsApp. And that's that. Your documentation is on the group and you are done for the day. It will now be captured and tracked on the IMS system of the company. Sections 6 to 12 would be your ones of completing and your referencing. Section 6 to 12 mostly needs a once-off completion of documents or is just documents which needs to be referenced. Thus, complete your documents before starting your project. Scan the completed documents and email it to the safety officer. Then just keep the documents in your file. When someone audits you or requests these documents, you can show it to them by using these sections. Section instructions. You will note that each section has a detailed instruction on the cover of the section. When in doubt, just read the instruction. It states reporting instruction. Firstly, it would give you the details of the reporting specifications, telling you when the inspection or completion is required and when you need to report on it. Then there's a small section describing what the function of the safety officer is, which would be like the reminders that would be sent to you to remind you to send these documents, and the review, when the safety officer will review it and how your receiver will be reported on the review. Then there might be a section that gives you additional section descriptions, which just describes the documentation within that section in more detail. Important notes is very important to know. Read them for each and every section because it gives you the importance of that section and or documents. Then there's a monthly period reporting structure table. It tells you when to report it on the WhatsApp group and when to upload the scanned documents on your Dropbox and the printing quantity, meaning how many of these documents you would need for 1 month period. Section 0. Cover and index. Cover page. Complete the cover page in your file. Firstly, team office assigned. Under which office does your team work and in what region, and your manager's name. Team leader name. The name of your team supervisor or your team leader. Team reference number. The number your team gets. Get this from the safety officer. Team file reference number. The issue number for your file. Get this from your safety officer. And then see the tasks covered by this safety file and ensure that it does cover your entire scope of work. Then the index. See the order of your documents with the document reference numbers, instructions on the documents, and the reporting frequency. Section 1. Continuous updatable documents. These documents must be completed as you go along with the day. In other words, exactly as it happens. Complete these documents as you go along and then report it once a week to the safety officer. Section index shows all the documents under the section. These are documents such as your timesheets and your traveling logs. As you start work and as you begin a trip, you need to complete the information of the time worked and the traveling time and distances. Section 2. Daily documentation required. These documents must be completed and reported daily. Complete these documents every day before use. Inspect everything before you use it and complete the documents. Then report this document daily on the WhatsApp group. You can use the section index, which would show you which documents is under the section. These are documents such as your vehicle inspections, your risk assessments, your task and communication documents, your working at heights if you do work at heights, your cherry picker, your abseiling, your lifting and rigging documents, your electrical work daily documents, your general site inspections, and then also your if applicable documentation such as your incident and accident reporting register and your visitor's log. If you do complete either one of these documents for a day, you have to also add them to your daily reports because both of these needs to be reported on as soon as possible. Section 3. Weekly documentation required. These documents must be completed and reported on weekly. Complete these documents once a week and report it once a week on the WhatsApp group. Section index shows all the documents under the section required. These are documents such as your emergency planning and equipment, your tools and equipment inspections, and your environmental inspections. Section 4. Monthly documentation required. These documents must be completed and reported monthly. Complete these documents once a month and report once a month on the WhatsApp group. Section index shows all the documents under this section. Section 5. Project documentation. These documents must be completed and reported as per project. The project assignment form must be completed each time you move to a new project and reported on the WhatsApp group when completed. This will mean that you do not need to print a new file for each project. Should a project have additional documents which will not be permanently integrated with the system, it will be placed under this section and must be reported after completed. Section 6. Acknowledgement and proof of induction. Proof of training documents. This is your internal training. When training has been received, the communication register must be completed. Insert a copy in the file and send a copy to the safety officer. Zero tolerance rules must be signed by each member within the team. Please undergo the induction training on the rules, which explains each and every rule in detail. Then insert a copy of each in the file. Each team member's copy must be in the file and it must be sent to the safety officer. Section 7. Appointments. On-site appointments only. The internal company appointments are in the main file to save space within the team files. Thus, if it is requested, you can go to the main file on the Dropbox and show it to the requester. Appointment of the team members must be done accordingly. Complete and sign the applicable appointments. Insert a copy of the appointment in the file and send a copy of the appointment to the safety officer. The safety officer will then validate the appointment. Please undergo the appointment induction training for details and instructions on the appointments. Section 8. Medical records. Medical fit certificates of all team members must be inserted within this section. Each team member must undergo medical examinations annually. Insert a copy in the file and send a copy to the safety officer. Medicals must be according to the work you will be performing. Thus, if you will work at heights, it must state fit to work at heights. And remember, no person may be on site without a valid fit for duty medical certificate. Section 9. Competency. Competency certificates of all team members. Insert a copy of this certificate in the file and send a copy to the safety officer. And remember, if you are not qualified to perform a task, do not perform that task. Section 10. Risk assessments. Generic risk assessment. This is only required to be referred. Thus, you will not need to complete anything on this form. Risk assessments are divided into 3 basic groups: your task or activity risk assessment, your standard risk assessment, and your task-specific risk assessment. Firstly, the task or activity risk assessment. This is if a RA has been created specific to your site and or your scope of work. So mostly this section would not have a risk assessment on except when requested. Then your standard task and risk assessment will have the task which generally forms part of your work, which is almost 100% always part of your work. And your task-specific risk assessment is a risk assessment specific to the task that you will be performing, such as your rigging and lifting, or your working at heights, or abseiling, or electrical work, etc. It's specific to the scope of work tasks individually. The safety officer might send updated risk assessments from time to time. Just replace the updated risk assessment with the old one that's currently in your file when it is sent by the safety officer. Section 11, Company Documents. Company documents would only be referred to on request. There's no need to complete these documents. Just insert the required documents as stated on the index, and when these documents are updated or new revisions of them is sent, just replace the old document with a new document. Section 12. Additional documents. Any additional documents which does not need to be completed and or referenced regularly can be added in this section. These aren't extremely important documents to be in the file. Thus, you would get specific instructions if they need to be in the file or not. A copy of these documents must be sent to the safety officer, but usually the safety officer will have this document by this point and tell you to insert a copy of it into your file. If you also need to store additional safety documentation for specific sites, etc., you can use this section to insert those documents. File changes. Should a document change or be updated, it will be sent to the office, the manager, and the supervisor if the supervisor does have an email, via email, with an updated index and an updated section index. Thus, you would replace the documents already in the file with the new documents, and then you will continue as per normal and as per instruction. Thus, this file can be used for years and years, the same concept, because it would just get updated. Note that the training will not be updated as regularly as the documentations might be, but you will be sent specific instructions with each and every update or change. Training conclusion. That's basically all you need to know about your file setup. If you do need to know anything else, please feel free to contact me. I really do hope that this file will be sufficient for you and a lot easier and more effective to use on site. If you do have any complaints or suggestions or even just general feedback, please feel free to notify me of them, because your input is very valued and it helps in progressing and making the file and the safety system better.